we're a bit high, aren't we? We'll have to just stand tall.
No slouching.
No slouching in the corner. Hi everybody, I'm Cass Lloyd. It's Wednesday night and it is Let's Talk, and I'm really pleased to have with me, first time ever on Let's Talk, a visitor, Gemma Pritchard.
Hello.
And welcome.
Thank you very much.
As my first visitor on Let's Talk.
Oh, special.
Yes, you're the special one tonight. And yeah, the reason why I'm so excited about having Gemma with us today is because Gemma is climbing Kilimanjaro, one of the things that I've wanted to do for a long, long time. So when I knew that Gemma was doing this, I just thought, great opportunity to find out why she's climbing it, why the challenge, and everything else that revolves around it. So, Gemma, thank you for coming here today, especially at late day, and I know you've had a really, really busy day as well, so I really appreciate that. So, why Kilimanjaro?
Because I was asked, and I'm a glutton for punishment. Ooh. I think it's something I've wanted to do for quite a while. 10 years ago, actually,
oh, really?
When it was on Comic Relief. I saw them climbing Kilimanjaro as part of that and thought, ooh, that looks fun. Hard, but fun. And it's been on my bucket list ever since. Yeah. And I was invited last November to take part in this one. And being part of Trek for Mind, we're aiming to raise £50,000 for the amazing charity Mind. So that's what really got me motivated to make that happen now.
So why, I mean, obviously, you know, like you've just said, that when mind was put into the equation, that made all the difference. So why is mind important for you personally?
Well, they say 1 in 4 of us have issues with mental health at some point in our lives, and just thinking off the top of my head, I can think of so many people, and myself included in that. And it's just something over the last few years I've become more and more passionate about, as I've learned about mindset and how to really understand how we think. I think it's an area that, as a whole, is really starting to form a movement, and Mind have been one of the main catalysts behind that, which is why I was really appreciative of the work that they did and still do.
So have you struggled with mental health yourself in the past?
Yeah, I had Post Natal Depression after I had my twins, my lovely twins Henry and Polly, who are now 4. I knew the second time around, because I also have a 9-year-old daughter, Isabel, and the second time round I could tell things were a little bit different and I couldn't tell why. And then one day I went for what should have been a bit of a treat at a beauty salon. I was having my legs waxed and then a massage, but they booked me in for the massage first and the leg wax after. And now normal, rational me would go, well, we'll cancel one, we'll do one now and I'll come back for the other. But instead of that, I sulked all the way through the massage, all tense, and then refused to speak to the woman when she was doing the leg wax. And then I walked out of the salon, got into my car and cried my eyes out. And that's just not me. For people who know me well, I pride myself on being a rational person. I'm a problem solver. I do love when things go wrong and I get the chance to fix them. So me crying my eyes out because I had a leg wax before, after a massage, that's just not me. And that was the point I knew something was fundamentally wrong and I had to go and get help. And there was actually a moment where I rang up the doctors and they asked me, is this an emergency appointment? And I went, no. And then a little thing in the back of my head went, you know what, if you don't go and do it now, you'll talk yourself out of it and you won't go back again. So I said, actually, no, it is. And I was right to do that because it was at that point that I actually addressed it for the first time. And from there, I guess that was the start of actually starting to talk about it a bit more.
So how long after your twins were born did you recognise, you know, that this episode of the massage and the leg wax made you realise that you had to find some help over this? What period of time was that over?
I noticed things weren't quite right after the first probably 3 or 4 months, when you start to get out of that, oh my goodness, I've got 2 new children, this is crazy, and things start settling down. In my head, things didn't seem to settle down, and I remember lying there in bed one day and just everything felt dark, and I couldn't figure out how things worked anymore. My brain was just like a dark cloud, and that was probably, they were somewhere between 4 and 6 months old at that point, I think, and it's something I worked on for quite a while. It was probably until they were about 2 that I did notice a significant improvement in my mental health. And even now, I won't lie, I'll have moments where things do really affect me more than they should, but I'm more educated in how things work and I'm quicker to catch that. But I found having a really good support network has helped that. I know a lot of really good people who are invaluable to me in helping me snap out of that. When I catch myself going into a spiral, they're really good at saying, come on, let's talk about it, let's have a chat.
I mean, this is the whole point, you know, and this is, you know, what I talk about a lot is recognising the signs in your body, recognising your thought processes, recognising the physical signs as well. You know, I know that, you know, when I've really got to start stepping back is I've got, you know, a little muscle on my right hand side that starts to feel really awkward. And that is when I know that I've got to step back and relax and, you know, do some kickstart the tools and techniques that I know into action to really, you know, get my level back up and balanced, you know. And so it isn't just about understanding your thought process, it's understanding your body as well, isn't it? Because what your head is saying has an effect on your body, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. And so, how did your husband take, or, you know, not take, but understand what was going on through this period of time?
He was very supportive, but I think as part of him could never quite understand what was going on because it was so chemical. And to see your wife, who's normally quite a rational person, just not understand things and be very emotional about the little things, I think it caught him off guard. But we've been married for 10 years now. At that point it was about 6 years. He knew me well enough to go, she needs space, or actually she needs me here. So he was very supportive and did what he could, to be fair.
Oh, that's fabulous.
I'm very lucky.
You are.
I am.
And how did this have an effect on your bonding with your twins? So.
That's actually a really good point. It did affect it because I felt like I was out of the room, and even to this day I still question my parenting skills with the twins. I'm very aware that even now I kind of sometimes just drift into space and kind of put a bit of a wall in front of myself, and sometimes that's quite hard to recognise that as a mum you might not be giving them what they need, so sometimes they will go to daddy automatically, and that's quite hard. But it's something that I just try and be aware of to make sure that I am connecting with them and not second guessing myself. I know my kids love me to bits, but sometimes it's quite easy to question what you're doing.
And you know you love your kids to bits.
I do.
That's the other important
bit.
formula, isn't it?
It is.
That's really, really important. So, you know, that is some really valuable information there. So I just want to talk about Kilimanjaro a little bit, because, you know, like Gemma says, we see quite a lot of it on the telly, you know, people going and climbing it. And, you know, it's huge though, isn't it?
It's quite big, yes. It's the world's largest freestanding mountain.
Yeah, so it's 5,985 metres above sea level. So in old pounds and pennies, that's 19,341 feet, if you're still in the old money. So it's a lot.
It's a long way.
It's a long way.
Yeah.
So when are you going?
We leave on the 27th of February and we step foot on the mountain on the 1st of March.
Okay. And how many days are you giving yourself to climb it?
So we are taking 8 days. We're doing one of the longest routes up the mountain because we want to give ourselves the best possible chance of success, and where most people fail with Kilimanjaro is because of the altitude. So taking an extra day to climb up, so it'll be 6 days up and 2 days down. They say that extra day can sometimes make or break an attempt.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's really important that you get that. So you're going up coming down the same way as you're going up?
No, it's slightly different. It's quite a long, gentle route up.
Yeah.
Whereas the route we come down is quite steep.
Oh, right.
So that's 2 days down.
Yeah.
You can't walk up the way you go down because it is so steep.
And is that what most people do? A quicker route down?
Yeah, I think there's only a couple of routes down really, and one of those is that quite quick route. So it's a bit
like a one-way system.
Yeah.
Sorry to put it a bit plainly like that. Okay, so you know, how's the training been going? Because I mean, you've only been preparing for this since November, which is quite a short period of time compared to a lot of other people in the group.
Yeah, so all in all there's 12 of us in the Trek for Mind team, and we all are self-employed utility warehouse distributors. That's kind of how we came together, because our company charity for this year is Mind. And the person who organised the trek did something very similar for Mind last year, and when UW announced they were going to match anything raised, he said, right, we're going to do it bigger and better, assembled his crack team. But at that point, I wasn't part of the team. I didn't really know the trek leader at that point. However, I met them at a few of the team at a company conference later on in October time, and because it was my bucket list, I kind of said, you know what, I'm going to pay it forward, I'm going to help you with your trek in the hope that one day when I do get the chance to do it, somebody will help me in return. So started helping, and then was offered the opportunity to join them. But obviously I was a few months behind in the training. So yeah, I've kind of had a bit of a crash course in hill walking and mountain climbing, trying to do whatever I can to kind of catch up. And also with the fundraising as well, that's been quite a big focus. So it has been balancing kids, my own business, fitness and fundraising, so it's been a busy few months. I've got a very understanding husband.
Thank goodness for that. So when I spoke to Gemma, was it yesterday, on Monday, and Gemma told me that she got a cold, I wasn't surprised, you know, with having, you know, because when you're doing anything like this, you are really, really stretching yourself in all directions, and it is going to have an effect on your health, and hence the cold. But you're sounding pretty good today.
Yeah, yesterday it absolutely wiped me out. I think I was up early, managed to power through my day and do a networking meeting, and then I went on an appointment trying to help somebody, and literally got home, walked through the door. I was driving home, speaking to my husband, and went, yeah, I feel all right, actually. I'm a bit snotty and a bit sneezy, but I feel fine. Walked through my front door and just absolutely crashed. Yes. I had to pick the kids up from school, and when he got home, I was literally in bed from about 4:30. So it was a bad day. But then today, I've woke up and full of life again, still slightly nasal, but much better than yesterday.
And I mean, this is another point, isn't it, that, you know, sometimes you've just got to stop, you know, and give yourself that little bit of TLC time and get yourself better, because, you know, if you keep fighting it the whole time, then, you know, quite often you can make yourself worse. And then it's a longer recovery, and Gemma hasn't got the privilege of this long recovery time.
No.
Because there's more training and more organisation and more work, and you still got, you know, kids to look after, and
yes.
be a wife and a friend and work colleague and everything else at the same time. But, you know, so you've been doing a lot of like hill walking. Have you done any gym work as well?
I haven't done a lot of gym work. I do admit I struggle staying in one place at one time. So I found the last couple of years, running has really helped me being out in the fresh air more than anything, and kind of having that time to process thoughts. I don't go very far. I don't tend to do more than 10k, although I did do the half marathon in the year before last, just to push myself and see how far I could go. But no, I don't tend to go more than 10k. So it's just that hour to just kind of get your head back together, and that's what I kind of prefer more than going to the gym. Although I do feel like I should be doing more on a stepper. One of our team, Danny Day, bless his little cotton socks, he did 10 hours or 12 hours on a stepper. He did a stepper-thon a few weeks ago, climbed the equivalent of about 20 Empire State Buildings.
Oh, okay.
So that was just phenomenal.
Yes.
That kind of put me to shame. I had to go out and do a bit of exercise after that. But
I mean, everybody does it their own way, don't
yes.
they? And that's the thing. And it was quite interesting that when I spoke to Gemma about coming on Let's Talk with me, someone else in the group was talking about underwater swimming,
yes,
to help build your lung capacity up, and I'd never heard of that, but I can see why it is, you know, really good for you. And, you know, as a past asthma sufferer, I don't know whether you still call me an asthma sufferer, I don't know, but, you know, when the kids were little, we used to do this mess around, who can swim the furthest under the water? And I must admit that, you know, my lungs, after doing a few lengths of underwater swimming, felt so much bigger and better and stronger. So perhaps we could all do with a bit of underwater swimming, perhaps, to keep us healthier.
Yes.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you was how are your family taking this big challenge? Because obviously it's time out of family life when you're training, and then it's, you know, quite a long period of time of family life out of the home, you know, going to Kilimanjaro. So how's that all going?
Well, my daughter's first words were, "No, Mummy, you're not allowed to go and do that."
You've got to be here with me.
Yeah, and she was a bit kind of put out. However, I explained why, and I think this week, speaking to her, it's really kind of hit home, because they're doing children's mental health at school. It's Mental Health Week, and she started to understand a little bit more about it for the first time, because at one point she didn't really understand what mental health was. She was talking about a competition she'd been given, and she thought she had to draw a picture of healthy food. It's like, no, actually, mental health is where we're talking about your brain and how it works and how it thinks. And you could see, actually, her brain started to tick a little bit more, and just being able to share this with her She was really excited when I picked her up from school on Monday. She said, "Mummy, I told the school all about you going to Kilimanjaro this
brilliant.
week." So I think she's accepted it now. I might have to do a lot of FaceTiming from Africa, I think, but she's accepted it. And my husband just knows that I live life at 1,000 miles an hour. There's always something that I'm doing or helping with, and to be honest, he's so supportive. He has asked me if I can have a bit of a break after I get back.
And not start on the next challenge.
That'll last for a bit. There'll always be something, bless him. He knows what I'm like, but I am very lucky to have him.
You are, because not a lot of people have got the support network that Gemma's got here. And I know that, you know, through Utility Warehouse as well, there's a huge support system as well, isn't there? But, I mean, I just want to remind everybody now that it's Trek for Mind. So there is a Facebook page which you need to go and check out as well. And how much are you raising between you all?
We're aiming to raise 50k between all of us, so £50,000 for Mind. And we're getting there, we're doing really well at the minute. But we do have a Just Giving page at www.trekformind.co.uk.
Yeah.
And that's where people can help with our cause. And follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Trek for Mind.
Yeah, and I will put that at the bottom in the comments as well, so just in case you didn't get that, I will put that down. And so what is the plan from today until the 27th then? Because I know you've got some big things coming up, haven't you?
Yeah, so Monday, 8 of the 12 of us will be flying to Spain to do some altitude training. Mm-hmm. We've had quite a few trips out over the last couple of months because we are nationwide. I think we've got people up in Cumbria, going all the way down to Somerset, and we've got people in Wales. So we've tried to get together as much as we can to do walking together and to really build that sense of team. And considering I've come in at the last moment, they've been amazing. They've made me feel like I've been there from the start. So they've all been so welcoming. So it's continuing to grow that, really, because it's the relationships between us all that are really going to help us get up that mountain. And to be fair, the other 11 people on the trek, there's not many people I know that are more strong-willed. I know mentally we're all in the place we need to be to get up that mountain. And if we ever have any moments we're not, there's enough of us to pull together, rally around and make sure we do that final bit, because a lot of it will be the mental challenge. So the very last day, where we'll be walking for 14 hours as we get up at 11 o'clock at night to reach the summit for 6 o'clock, our bodies will be screaming, our heads will be questioning what we do, but I know between all of us as a team, we'll get there.
So how long is the last section to walk?
It's 14 hours. I don't actually know height-wise. I've tried
so
to
that's
avoid getting into...
14 hours up and then you've got to come back down, or is that 14 hours on the last section up and back down again?
It'll include a little bit of coming down, so it's about 8 hours going up. The rest will be coming down. We should get to the top of the mountain, the last little bit that they call Stella Point. We should get there just at sunrise, which will be...
I'm just making
absolutely
some notes, by the way.
I think that will make it absolutely worth it for all of us.
So that is sunrise on the 9th of March, is that right?
That will be the 6th or the 7th, I think, off the top of my head, the 7th.
7th of March, okay.
Yeah.
Because I want to get that right, because I'll be putting a little post up or something, so I want to get that right.
We'll send you a picture.
Right. Oh, I would love that. So, one of the other questions, any challenge like this can be quite, it's definitely hard work, and, can give a lot of different feelings. So, are you frightened about this challenge?
I would say less frightened, more apprehensive. I think technically there's worse things to be doing. So Everest, for example. Oh my goodness, I don't think I'll ever manage that one. I've got a bit of a fear of heights, so I don't think that one's going to happen. However, I know it's the mental slog with Kilimanjaro, which is what makes it such a good fit with mine, to be fair, because of the mental challenge of it. It's not just physical. So I wouldn't say I'm frightened. I just know that it's altitude that could be the problem, and that's genetics. It's either going to affect you or not affect you, and you won't know until we get there. So we're going to Spain to do some altitude training next week, which is very exciting.
And how many days is that?
We're there for about 3 days, 2 full solid days of climbing up the mountains. But we've done a few trips nationwide, but not really managed to get a lot of height over the last few months. So we're going to go and find some mountains and get as high as we can. Some bigger mountains, hoping to get to at least 2,000 metres, just under. So so that will give us a bit more exposure to that, and that's the bit that we're really looking for. So I wouldn't say frightened, but I'm looking forward to it.
Excited. That's fantastic. But before we go, I just want to ask you something, because I mean, I've struggled with stress in the past, and not to the same extent you did, but that was, you know, what I struggled with was bad enough. Did you ever think that you would have mental health issues?
No.
Before your postnatal depression?
No, and I always thought I was quite an easygoing person, and I didn't let things get to me. So it was all a bit of a shock, really, and it took a lot of almost comprehension to an acknowledgement to say, yeah, actually, this is a mental health issue. And it also made me more aware of other things that were happening. So I had my first panic attack a couple of years later, but actually that was less daunting, knowing I'd already faced issues before. And I guess it's just, it can happen to anybody, and there's nothing to be ashamed of, and it's just really making sure that you reach out to somebody. You might not necessarily know that you're having a problem, but it's just speaking to somebody, and just a little chat or a text message, and vice versa, for people to reach out to people that they think might be struggling as well.
Because I mean, it's, you know, before we came live, we were just checking out what was happening on Mine next week, you know, all through the week. And actually on Mine tomorrow, it is Time to Talk, Listen and Change Lives, isn't it? So, you know, we all need to do that tomorrow. Make some time, not just find it, make some time to talk and listen to somebody who you know or you think might be struggling, because, you know, sometimes we have a little clue that they might be struggling, but they might not be at that stage where they are acknowledging that there is actually a problem, and that's the important bit, is helping them just to get through the next minute, the next hour, the next day, so that they can get through the next week and through to the rest of our lives, because it is tough. And if you haven't experienced it, like Gemma says, it's difficult to know how somebody else is feeling about it. But I will be talking to Gemma again once she comes back from Kilimanjaro as part of my podcast series. And so you will hear from Gemma again, which will be fabulous. But, you know, if you are struggling, but you're not at that, you know, with, you know, the chitter-chatter, the challenges, the word that I use, unfortunately, that a lot of people don't like, is the shit that's going on in your head, then, you know, you can always go onto my website and look for my top 10 tips to keeping yourself sane, which is www.kathloyd.co.uk, and that is a free, how many tips? 10-day mini e-course going into your mailbox, so nobody needs to know that you are subscribing to it. But we're going to love you and leave you in just a second. And Gemma, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you very much for inviting us. The whole Trek for Mine team appreciate the chat.
And we will all wish you the very, very best. I'll be thinking about you. I'll be following what's going on. And, look forward to chatting with you when you get back.
Thank you.
And everybody else, I will speak to you next Wednesday for Let's Talk. So have a great evening and have a great week. Bye-bye now.